Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are here back on car rants in my room. You join me back for another car rant. We haven't done this in a while and a lot has happened. A lot of very important cars have come out and a few topics I wanted to talk about. So let's get right to the video. Alrighty guys, so it has been quite a while since I've had time to film a video like this, do a car rant like this. If you don't know, I have started school back up again, which is nearly fully online, and it is, oof, it's a lot. You know, electromagnetics really makes your brain just go. But it's okay, we're moving on, we're getting through it, and I'm finally starting to understand the understandable. Anyway, back onto more better topics like cars. I haven't filmed a solo car rant in my room in a while, okay? Everything you've seen on my channel since school started has been filmed before school started. So we're finally back at it, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot of stuff that needs updating. So I do have a topic I'm going to talk about today, but before we do that, we need to cover some of the new cars that just came out. First one, new Maserati. So Maserati MC20 just released, okay? So this is a competitor for the Ferrari 488 and the Lamborghini Huracan. And can we all just say, finally, a cool car from Maserati. Seriously though, we've had the Gran Turismo, which has been out since the 1800s. We have the Levante, which is the ugliest of all the SUVs. Well, maybe not, but I think personally it's pretty darn ugly. And we have the Quattroporte, which is also pretty blah and has also been out since the 1800s. So finally, we have a cool car with new technology from Maserati. Plus, personally, I think it looks really good. Though if I have one comment on the styling, if you look at the back, I personally think they should have either a spoiler on the back or a big ducktail spoiler. Though everybody will hate on me for saying that. Spoilers ruined the design. No, it doesn't. Go watch my spoiler rant and I'll talk about how wrong you are. Otherwise though, I think it's really cool. Another controversial part of it is that it comes with a V6. However, I personally think that it's better they put a V6 in it than a V8, and here's why, just a little blurb on this, okay? So if Maserati came out with another, say, 4-liter twin-turbo V8, literally everybody has that. Every McLaren ever made, not really, but basically every McLaren has a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. Every fast car in the Volkswagen group has a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. It's not new, it's boring, it's average, that's what you get. And this segment is already so full in the entry-level supercar department. There's so many cars in there already. Maserati had to do something to stand out. So they developed their own in-house V6, which is already pretty cool. It's twin-turbo, takes plenty of horsepower. I think it's like 630, which, you know, it's going to be really fast. That's just how it is. But they added a lot of cool stuff in it. You know, they have pre-combustion chambers and 12 spark plugs in their V6, so it like pre-ignites before the actual combustion chamber. I don't know, but it's really cool and it adds a lot of uniqueness to it. I'm not sure how it sounds yet, but you know, as long as it sounds almost as cool as the Ford GT, then it's all good. You know, I have no problem with the V6. I think actually it makes it cooler. Plus, they gave it butterfly doors, which is just finally. I think it's the best car Maserati's come out with since the MC12. So good job, Maserati. You're back on the board as a actual supercar company. There you go. Also, the Gordon Murray Automotive, the GMA T50. So the basic F1 replacement. Picture of it here. Now, all right, I actually have a few things to talk about in this car. I'm going to talk about it later. You know, outstanding engineering. It comes with a manual, 3-seat. It literally is a McLaren F1 made as a new car. I think it looks pretty cool. It doesn't look particularly, you know, great and wow, but I think it looks fine. And the fan on the back is really cool. That basically acts as downforce. It sucks air out from under the car, creates low pressure, and keeps it planted, which is something that Gordon Murray did on some of his race cars. Brabham had that, but it's a similar function, and it's really cool. But I'm not as excited about it as I thought I would be, for a number of reasons. I watched all the videos on it, and all the interviews with Gordon Murray about his whole design for it, and I kind of got offended by some of it. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody's like, oh, Gordon Murray, you know, he's so great. And I'm sure he is, and his engineering skills are outstanding, and he's a great race car builder, and McLaren F1's the best, and, you know, all of that, blah, blah, blah. But me personally, when I'm talking about supercars, one of the biggest things for me, which is why I'm such a Lambo fan, is the panache of it, you know, the just absurdity of it, the ridiculousness. You drive it on the road, and it's just like a rocket ship. And nobody cares that you can't see out of it, or that you can't park it, or that, you know, it's like the most impractical thing ever to be built. Nobody cares, because it's cool. You know, I talked about this before, the conservation of coolness, right? If something's cool, it's probably harder to do. So, or else everybody would do it and then it wouldn't be cool. It's like the big Lambos, you know, you can't see, you can't get in, you can't get out, you can't do anything in it, but it's so cool. And that's what I really like. And this car is literally the opposite of that. In fact, it insults that, which made me a little mad, you know. He talked about how, oh, we don't do flashy turn signals because those will be old and outdated in the next 10 years. I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean? Cool turn signals are cool. You know, like Audi turn signals that kind of light up in a strip. So neat. And in fact, the C8 Corvette has turn signals like that. I didn't even know that. And I saw it on the road. I'm like, that's so cool. I got mad about that, I'm not gonna lie. But there are a few other things he said, you know. Oh, another thing that annoyed me, he said he didn't do carbon fiber wheels because he knows carbon fiber and you know, carbon fiber can't be trusted on wheels. And I'm like, Koenigsegg built carbon fiber wheels and went 284 miles an hour with them and had no problems. Ford builds carbon fiber wheels for relatively normal cars like the GT350, and I've heard no problems about that. I disagree there, but a few things like that. The turn signals is one that I really remember because I just think that cool turn signals are one of the coolest things you can do, and he just insulted them like that. Regardless though, I'm sure they're all sold out and it'll be great to drive and all that, but I still think that having a compromised car that doesn't drive great gives it character. You know, I mean, driving great, you know, but compromised in some way that makes you like it more. So those two new cars are really the big ones that came out since I did this. Still, you know, cars slowing down a little bit. We have some news on the C8 Z06 confirmed. Make sure to watch my table car rants on that. But anyway, so that's just some news and stuff that happened since I did my last video. There is some things I want to talk about, and I actually had to write down notes for this. I know if you watched my first video, you saw that I threw paper everywhere and yelled about it because everything was off the top of my head. And while yes, but also these stats are important, and there's a lot of them, and I didn't feel like memorizing all of them for this video, so we're just going to go over that. So here's the premise of this video that I was going to do, and all of that stuff I probably talked too long on, even though it was only 2 cars, but I just hadn't done a video in so long I wanted to talk about them real quick, just touch on them. A sad fact that I think we're all realizing is that the internal combustion engine is dying. Alright, you know, it's sad. I think that it'll always be around in small form, but basically it's going out. You know, pretty much every single new car coming out this year or next year is either going to have a hybrid option, a full electric option, or just be full electric. Every single new car coming out has a hybrid option. The engine is slowly being outperformed by newer and better batteries and electric systems. That's just the way it's going. From an enthusiast point, I think there will always be small cars making engine or gasoline engines, but they won't perform on the same level as electric cars. It'll just be an enthusiast thing, kind of like the manual is right now, how it's just kind of struggling along. Oh, also new car I wanted to talk about. The new BMW, the big grille. Personally, I think it looks pretty cool, and it's offered with a manual, which is what reminded me about it. Everybody hates it, the styling. I've never been a big BMW fan, but I honestly think that this looks better than the other BMWs. Unpopular opinion. Anyway, back to it. So I wanted to talk about some of the last great internal combustion engines, okay? I think that right now we are at probably the peak of what an internal combustion engine can do, okay? Now, a lot of these cars I'm going to talk about also have hybrid systems, so they're still paired with some type of electronics, but to compete with other full electric cars' performance, these engines are incredible right now, okay? So, before I get started, honorable mentions list would be the Koenigsegg Gemera, a truly unique 3-cylinder engine that makes 600 horsepower. Is it 660? Something crazy like that. It's a 3-cylinder, twin turbo, and it's got free valve, which is Koenigsegg's valve technology that uses computers rather than camshafts. Really cool stuff. The special thing about that is it runs on eco fuel or biofuel that is CO2 neutral. So I'm hoping that would be the future, because then we can still have cars that sound cool, but I mean, to mass produce a thing like that would be quite a feat. So honorable mention, Koenigsegg Gemera, love that car, Koenigsegg in general. But alright, here we go. So this is my list of what I think the current best engines are, and probably the last best engines. You know, everything going forth will be either a tiny engine dependent on a electric system or just a full electric car. So these are what I think is the internal combustion engine pushed to its very limits. All right. So to start out, why don't we start out with the GMA T50, the Gordon Murray automotive car I was just talking about. Okay, that V12 is ridiculous. So it's built by Cosworth. It's a 3.9 liter V12, so relatively small displacement. And here's the thing, revs to 12,000 RPM. 12,000 RPM, that's F1 territory right there, okay? And it makes 690 horsepower. It is totally naturally aspirated. Woo! It's a V12, it has a mild hybrid system, revs to 12,000 RPM. Now, another little thing that has bugged me about this GMA T50, okay? They pronounced this engine, they carried it around as the most power dense engine of all time, meaning that it makes the most horsepower per liter of engine of any car. You know, it's the ultimate engine basically, and that's not true. It's not true. My boys at Koenigsegg, yeah, okay, just to show off what a big Koenigsegg fan I am. I should get my jacket on. But my boys at Koenigsegg, they in the Jesko revs to 8,500 RPM, okay, and it makes 1,600 horsepower. Now I know that a lot of you out there right now are like, well, actually, it makes 1,600 horsepower on E85 gas. That doesn't really count. And I'm like, you're wrong. Well, I mean, you're right. On normal gas, it makes 1,200 horsepower. I think it actually makes 1,260 horsepower, which still is more horsepower per liter than the McLaren. Okay, the McLaren makes 230 horsepower per liter, which is impressive. You know, that's a very power dense engine. However, looking at the Jesko, even on normal gas making 1,200 horsepower, it makes 240 horsepower per liter, which is 10 more. And then you put it on E85, you make 1,600 horsepower, and it's 320 horsepower per liter, which absolutely destroys everything else. So get wrecked, okay? Koenigsegg is better than you. But regardless, it is, I think, the most power dense naturally aspirated engine, which is maybe what they meant to say. But Koenigsegg makes more horsepower per liter. Let's not get that wrong. However, 12,000 RPM is pretty dang impressive, and that is the highest revving engine that I have on this list. So, you know, that's insane. It's built by Cosworth, just crazy. So now the Jesko, which I just talked about, is also one of the all-time greatest engines. It makes 1,600 horsepower from 5 liters. It's ridiculous. It has like the lightest rotating assembly ever made. It still has a camshaft, doesn't have free valves, but the flywheel is like, actually there is no flywheel because Koenigsegg and their crazy transmission, but it revs from like 0 to redline in like 0.2 seconds or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous, and it sounds pretty daggone cool. So really excited for that. It has crazy technology in it. And another car we're going to talk about is actually the C8 Z06. Okay, now if you saw my last video, we discussed this a little bit in our table car rants, but this is not yet to be released, but the engine specifications have been confirmed by Chevy. So some of the crazy stuff, this is a 5.5 liter V8 that revs to 9,000 RPM and makes 625 horsepower. Now that might not seem all that impressive compared to the GMA's 12,000 RPM limit, but this is much bigger. This is a 5.5 liter V8. It's over a liter bigger, and it revs to 9,000 RPM in a huge, you know, in a Corvette, a crazy high production run relative to these cars. And it revs 9,000 RPM. It's going to be insane. And then Corvette are going to slap twin Turbskis on it for the higher models, like the ZR1 and the Zora, and it's crazy. Going to be a really impressive engine, and I hope that it doesn't have any problems. But yeah, 9,000 RPM in a Corvette. A discussion about modern engines wouldn't be complete without talking about the AMG 1 and the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Okay, both of these cars are based on F1 cars, and they were going to be the top of the line cars coming out. Like you had the 918 LaFerrari and Porsche 918. These were going to be like the new versions of those that are the unbeatable top of the line stuff. They were announced, both of them, like 5 years ago or something. We still don't see them in production form yet, and I personally think that the Jesko is better than both of them for a number of reasons, though maybe I'll do another video on that. If you can't tell, I'm a bit of a Koenigsegg fan. But anyway, the engines powering these cars are also pretty impressive. So in the Valkyrie, the Aston Martin, they also have an engine built by Cosworth, same people who built the GMA's V12, okay? Except this is a bit different. It's also a hybrid, so you have an electric motor on the crank, but it's a 6.5 liter V12, which is a big engine. That's the same size as Lamborghini's V12, and it revs to 11,000 RPM. 11,000 RPM. It makes 1,000 horsepower. Now, I believe the hybrid system adds only a little bit more, 160 horsepower to that, but the engine alone makes 1,000 horsepower naturally aspirated. Bro, what? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a 6.5 liter V12 that revs to over 10,000 RPM. Cosworth, what are you doing? These engines are ridiculous. It's crazy. And then after that, we have the AMG 1, which has, wait for it, a 1.6 liter V6. Now, actually, there's quite a few cool cars that have a V6. You know, Jaguar XJ220 has a V6, new Maserati has a V6, Ford GT has a V6, and now the AMG 1 has a V6. Though this is literally the Formula 1 engine made for road use from AMG's Formula 1 car. 11,000 RPM it revs to and makes, we don't know. AMG has not released a lot of numbers on this car, despite it being released so long ago. All in all, the car should make roughly 1,000 horsepower, and that's with 2 electric motors on the front wheel, an electric motor on the crank, and an electric motor on the turbo. So who knows how much horsepower the engine makes. I've heard rumors maybe 600 horsepower, 600 some odd horsepower, which seems a little low, but I'm actually not sure how much the F1 car makes. I don't know. These are some of the list. I'm sure I missed some. I think Ferrari's A12 V12 is pretty insane as well. But basically, these are what I think the pinnacle of combustion engines are. These are the top of the line, and probably from now on, we won't see any engines that are crazier than this, because nobody's going to put the time in to develop an engine. We can just slap a hybrid system or go full electric. Bit of a long video, I know, but I have not made one in a while, and I had a lot to talk about. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Make sure to check out all my other videos. I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. Oh, I'm scaring my cats. I need my information. You ready for this intro? I'm gonna hurt myself. A lot of car of we're gonna do that over. My knees. I'm too old for this. Play the insert intro here. Man, I have not made a video in a while. I should have written this down, but I didn't. And now I'm paying for it. Oh yeah, okay. It has a small hybrid mild system. What I said. This is Pants. He is also a Conan Seg fan.